Comix Zone is one of the best Sega Genesis games ever made. It's a game from 1995, and it's a weird combination of kind of action-adventure meets a scrolling 2D beat-em up with a few puzzles thrown in just to spice things up. This is a weird comparison, but I'd say this game is a combination of sort of Streets of Rage 2 and Street Fighter 2. The game itself follows the story of this muscular, burly, martial arts expert comic book artist, as most comic book artists are, and he's sucked into his own comic book, and the entire game takes place in this comic book as he jumps from panel to panel, trying to get home and also save the day. The graphics of Comix Zone are absolutely spectacular. I mean, you can easily argue this is the best graphics on the Genesis, like hands down. Not even the Genesis, but just the best graphics of the Genesis and Super Nintendo era. And while that's impressive, you also have to remember this is a game from 1995. This is when the PlayStation 1 and the Nintendo 64 and all those other consoles from that new era were starting to take form. So to say a game in the later years of the Genesis has the best graphics isn't really that surprising. Because this game is basically one of the last games ever made for the Genesis, when the new generation of consoles was already starting to come out, not that many people played it originally. And that's just such a sad state of affairs that, it took for basically emulation to start on the internet before people really got a chance to enjoy this game. And of course, after that, once a lot of people played this game, it finally grew this giant cult following because it is, without a doubt, undoubtedly one of the best Genesis games ever made. What makes it so great? What separates it from other action-adventure kind of, 2D fighting games? Well, first of all, the actual controls of the fighting. This is an action-adventure game with fighting mechanics complex enough to be in a fighting game. Like, this could literally just be a fighting game. Like, every single panel would just be a zone, and every single enemy would just be a guy you fight as you progress through the gauntlet until the final boss. The fighting mechanics are that good. The controls are a little weird to get used to at first, and by that I mean the learning curve is just a few minutes. Up doesn't make you jump. There is a high, low, middle attack component to the fighting, so if you hold up and you attack, you do these uppercuts and high kicks, and if you hold down, you do low kicks, and if you just hit, you kind of do straight body punches and things like that. And you can combine all of these to do really cool combinations. Like you do a high kick, then you press down right away, you do a low kick, and then you throw some jabs to the body, and it's like a whole big combination. So you have to use the high, low, and medium attack ranges to create new awesome combinations to defeat the enemies. You can't just play this game by turning your brain off. You have to be tactical, because this game at the end of the day is pretty damn hard. This is actually one of the follies of this game. A lot of people complain the game is too hard, and I can understand that, but these same people also complain this game is too short. Now, I feel like these two things cancel each other out. The game was made specifically hard enough where it doesn't really need to be that long, where you can't just pass it on the first try when you play it. You only have one life, you have a limited amount of items you can use. Like, for instance, I think I've really only got like one potion in the entire game, or two. You only get like a knife, and that's like, you only use it once. You get dynamite once in a while. Anything you hit, like obstacles you try to hit to progress through the game, that hurts you. As it should. If you're beating a metal drum, obviously it's going to hurt you. It's going to make your knuckles bloody. This is one of those games that's basically meant to be a home arcade game. you don't pass it on the first try, so you replay the game a lot of times, and that makes up for how short it is because you have to replay the game, because there's no way you can just pass it on the first go, or even the second go, maybe the third go. I think it took me about 5 tries to actually pass the entire game the first time I did it. Also, I have to mention that you don't regain your health after every zone. It takes like 2 or maybe sometimes even 3 zones until your health is replenished. So a lot of times you'll finish off a zone and you're like, alright, finally I'm on the next page, and then your life it's still at like 2%. Like, oh crap, that's not good. I might as well restart. I ain't passing this entire panel with like 2% of my life. That's not happening. The only real item you have that's reusable is your rat pet. And your rat pet basically is part of the puzzle aspect of this game. A lot of times there's going to be a switch where you can't get to or something of that nature, and you're going to have to release your rat to squeeze into a tiny hole and you know, flip a switch on the other side of the door, something to that effect. And there is a few puzzles in this game. It's not chock full of puzzles, but there is a moderate amount of puzzle elements in the game. And also, the panels themselves are a puzzle, because a lot of times the game gives you the option to go either one way or the other way, and you have to kind of figure out which way is better, which way has less enemies, which way has maybe an item you could pick up. But this is a pure trial and error thing, because before you play the game, you obviously can't possibly know which way is the better way to go. This is another aspect where you do need to replay the game a bunch of times to really do it really well. Like I said, it's a short game, but there's no shortage of new and unique enemies with new and different strategies to implement in order to fight them. My only gripe really is the enemy AI is not the best, especially some of the bosses. Some bosses you can just kind of stand in the right place and just spam middle range punches and just destroy them that way. I hate to abuse video game AI, but you know, if they're dumb and you have like 2% life, you might as well. Comix Zone has fantastic music, and when you combine that with the great graphics and absolutely nothing but perfect gameplay mechanics, you have an awesome game. There's no way I could give this game a score lower than 9.5. If this game came out in like 2008 for the Wii, or just, you know, somewhere on Steam or whatever, it would garner the same score, because the graphics really did age well. It looks fantastic, it feels fantastic, it takes place in a really unique place, it combines a lot of different genres into one game. The only fathomable bad thing you can really say about the game is that it's a little too short and a little too hard, but again, I believe these two things somewhat cancel each other out if you think of this game as a home arcade game rather than a game with like 20 lives. You know, you die and there's really no consequence because there's 20 more of you ready to go. This game gets an official stanburdman rating of 9.5 out of 10. If you haven't played this, I don't know why you're still watching this video. I don't know why you're going to school or working when you can be playing Comix Zone for the Sega Genesis. This game is out for other consoles, but I think the Genesis game is far superior to the game on any other console. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, my friends.